Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Lewis's vlog, and we started the week off with a max effort incline bench. And I clipped some of his stuff down, clipped it out, because a lot of his supplemental work is kind of repetitive because he's still, kind of a novice at this point. And those who want to know the backstory, watch the first video, of course, in the series, and it will tell you why we are where we are with him. So the thing that's going on with Lewis here is because he's kind of a late novice still at this point. Again, tall, lanky, hard gainer. We're still trying to get weight on him over time. I'd like to put another 30 pounds on him, over the next, I don't know, year and a half. So when we look at his work, it's all very, very repetitive. It's all basic stuff. He has a limited garage right now at home, training in the cold there. And it's very simple. Max effort days, we do a max effort lift. He does flat benching, and I finally got into where he could do it wide. His shoulders used to hurt, and that's a common issue with hard gainers. Of course, he's got other health issues, but similar to Robbie in that regard. Robbie had some health issues we worked through, and yet we still got Robbie to a 500 deadlift, and we put 50 pounds of body weight on him from being a bean pole. All right, Lewis, same sort of thing. He's over 6 foot tall, lanky, a lot of frame that we have to fill out. He's also dealt with some health issues and injury that required surgery. So he's got some pins and everything in one of his arms and in his wrists. So we've been working around all of this, and we're going to get him strong. But if you look at his work, we do the bench press, we do one-arm dumbbell rows, we do inverted rows, band press downs, and laterals, right? We do dumbbell lateral raises. Not that much complexity to it. And of course, this is the movements we're using for now. I may change these around. But as you guys see, here they all are, band press downs, and then the lateral raises. So band press downs, you guys notice I'm big on that. A lot of my novice lifters, I kind of get upset if they don't have access to bands, because it's like, I don't know why people are watching my channel who don't have bands yet. It's like you could not have been paying attention. But the band press downs, I love to use those for a lot of base building on my lifters because it builds their elbow tendons up. And it's something I learned really early on with coaching. Not necessarily my original coaching that I did years and years ago, but once I really started opening my channel up to a full-time coaching business, and it wasn't just something I did on the side, I very quickly learned that trick becomes invaluable, particularly for anyone with a history of tricep weakness. If I don't take that time and build up those tendons, they pay for it when I start hammering their triceps hard. And I found it's the best solution. And even some of the advanced lifters I've had, it was an issue. There were guys who, for us to get them past that 300 bench press mark, we had to do a lot of tricep work, and their triceps tendons were not prepared for it. So I like to run it in phases, to get people prepared, do all that band press down work. And I tend to be a big fan of the movement, just for overall elbow health. And I may not be the strongest bencher in the world, but you guys have seen me post clients benching quite a bit more than me. We've seen clients of over 400, benching double body weight with over 400. So in that context, you guys will notice that my clients do tend to have very healthy elbows. All my long-term clients, you don't ever hear them complain about their elbows hurting. It's just an FYI. It's a reason for that. All right. So for max effort lower day, we went ahead and just tested his back squat again. We weren't happy with it, but I've also been talking to him about his split squat form. I'm like, if we're going to use this as a supplemental lift, we need better range of motion. I'd like to see his foot up on the back of that bench. I want to see him breaking parallel, and I'd like to see him locking out. And it's hard to do all that, just standing like he's doing it, trying to do it almost like a lunge. So it's easier to get his foot up on the back of the bench. But by that same token, I may say, hey, he doesn't even need a lot of quad work. We might just need posterior chain work and keep him with a fairly wide stance squat. But I have to assess what's going on there. Like quite frankly, I'm really just giving lip service to the quads there. It's been my experience that the speed boxes The good mornings and the stuff like that are really what build a base for a squat, particularly for people who are going to power squat, which means a wider stance. Of course, I had another coach mention that to me. Well, you shouldn't no one calls it that. I'm like, I call it that. I thought lots of people called it that. I guess I'm from a different era, Olympic squatting and power squatting, right? It's two different types of squats, which really means narrow stance and wide stance. But he does split squats, he does good mornings, he does band pull-throughs, and then he does hanging leg raises, right? Pretty straightforward stuff. Again, very, very simple movements. He doesn't have access to a lot of stuff. We don't have specialty bars. I don't have ways to get him on a reverse hyper or glute ham raise. So we do what we can with what he has. But fortunately for us, he's got this station that lets him do hanging leg raises. He can do dips on it. He can do pull-ups. I just don't have him doing those body weight movements right now. I just don't think they're necessary. If anything, I like those body weight movements for slightly more advanced lifters. People say, why? Because I don't want them to be difficult. I like body weight movements to be done for higher reps. And I don't really see a big benefit to doing a bunch of 3s and 4s on them. So I want them to be able to do 10s on everything. And then we can just add volume. And if they're bulking, we're adding weight to it anyways. All right. So I pulled out most of the supplemental work here at the end because, again, the video is going to be 10 minutes anyways. So he does speed benching. We do the standard protocol. You see a lot of my people do 9 sets of 3 with about 40% max. And I think in his case, we use 50 right now. So 9 sets of 3 rotating grips, right? 3 sets wide, 3 sets medium, 3 sets close. Then he does incline bench. Again, incline bench is a movement I like to use for him. We might as well. He has access to an incline bench. We don't have a lot of variation, so we definitely use this. And again, longer arm benchers seem to get a lot out of the incline, particularly for carryover to their bench press. Because again, it helps with that speed off the bottom. And then of course he does the same movements we did before: one arm dumbbell rows, inverted rows, dumbbell lateral raises, and band press downs. Now, it will be noted here, I do have a little more total pulling on the assistance work, but think about the fact that he has his primary work for upper body is all pressing, right? Max work and the speed work is all pressing. So yes, I do have 2 different, upper and middle back movements in here for him to help balance that. Not that deadlifts aren't pulling too. They do count for the speed pulls. But just because of all of that, that's how I balance it. And no, I don't fully believe in that idea that you need double the pulling as you do pressing. That would only be done for short phases because gym bros haven't built their back up half the time, right? They're very anterior dominant with a weak posterior side in general. So that's why you prescribe that. But once it catches up, you can drop that and go back to, normal type ratios unless something's a weak point, right? Your weak points always get more volume. All right, so after this, we do the speed lower, and the accessories are all the same. And I didn't put them all in there because we don't need all of that. He does speed squats, and then on speed pulls, because I want him to focus on doing 1 rep. There's some history there with why we're doing that. Because I want him to practice doing 1 solid rep. We only do a single on the speed pulls. I want him to bring it up, and then lower it all the way down while holding onto the bar. And that's something I have a lot of lifters have a bad habit on, is turning loose of the bar. On maxes, I get a lot of lifters have a bad habit on their speed work of turning loose on the 2nd rep when they're doing doubles. Again, just bad habits you want to break your lifters of. And in his case, I'm having him learn it early on this way. But yes, I do have lifters who have had a long time who I was still catching them doing that when they bother to send me speed work footage, which they rarely do. And therein we run into the issue. And then, of course, he does good mornings and does all the other stuff that we do at the end. I put the good mornings in because for him, these are probably the most important out of these movements that he's doing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.